You're almost too perfect.
Oh, thank you. That's actually a situation that a client of mine had recently. He was on a first date with a lady and she said, "Oh my God, you're almost too perfect." And he didn't know how to handle that. Because in this video, we're gonna talk about men taking women too serious at the level of the words. And this is gonna require some nuance. That's why we're gonna talk about this in a long form video right here. So, the first thing you have to understand is that obviously we want to take people serious, men and women. We want to respect them. But words are an extremely cheap currency. People talk a lot. And I've seen this now with clients from over 30 countries, hundreds of them. They jump onto every single word they say and then they question themselves. So the first thing we have to talk about is frames. A frame is basically your level of conviction, your level of certainty in your own reality. And sometimes what happens on a date is you have two frames, two realities colliding. She may believe in what she's saying, you may believe in what you're saying. Now, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win the frame battle, so to speak? And not everything is a frame battle, by the way. More about that later. But who's gonna win? Whoever is most certain is always going to influence the other person if there's rapport, as Tony Robbins says. Certainty is the most important thing. As much as you want to take her serious, as much as you want to be open-minded, which is exactly what you're doing in your professional environment, by the way. This gentleman, this client of mine that I was talking about, he works in finance in a pretty high position. And in order for him to have gotten that level of career success, he has to constantly analyze his own behavior and think very critically, where could I have done a better job in a client presentation? What did the client say? What did he maybe not say? If you want to succeed in business or your career, you have to be willing to put your ego aside, like you've already done, and learn and admit mistakes to yourself. That's what's going to make you successful, because then you'll be able to bridge the gap between where you are and where you need to be. The delta, the skill gap. But the problem is, if you transfer the exact same habit into a dating context, women will lose interest in you because they don't want you to question yourself all the time. If she feels that she can make you uncertain just by uttering a couple of sounds, how on earth is she supposed to have any faith in your ability to navigate life's challenges 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, when you have a family together? So, the most important thing in the beginning is certainty, that you own your frame, that you own your reality, and that you don't take every single word that men or women say too serious and question yourself. That is really important, whatever it may be. Now, obviously, this requires more nuance because we do have to take her serious. So, how do I know when I should question myself and when should I just own my frame? It's a meritocracy in the end. You gotta value, or rather evaluate each idea based on its merits. For example, in this situation, if she says, "You're almost too perfect," you can just ask a Socratic question. When you say, "I'm too perfect," what do you mean by that? Now, here's another mistake that a lot of men make. Don't make everything too logical. Sometimes you might just say it as a congruence test to see how you react. Because women are going to give you these congruence tests, oftentimes unconsciously, to see whether she can make you uncertain or whether you can stay calm, relaxed, and fun and lighthearted. So it's not your job to make everything super logical, but you're also adults. And you're looking for a woman that you can build a family with. So if she says, "You're almost too perfect," or whatever else you don't understand, ask a Socratic question or the Socratic question and simply say, "When you say XYZ, what do you mean?" Simply ask for clarification. Don't take anything serious you do not understand. Your default has to be that you take yourself serious, that you have convictions in what you say. And what other people say will never create a sense of uncertainty within you. That's the default. Now, if you don't understand it, ask a question. And do take her serious if she, for example, criticizes the fact that you made a joke that wasn't funny. If you say something and she's a little bit offended, you can either say, "Hey, I'm just kidding," or "I apologize," because you do want to be respectful. But if she says something flippantly, understand words are a very, very cheap currency. And women value certainty more than open-mindedness and self-reflection. You already have self-reflection. If you're already doing well in your career or your business or you're ambitious, if you've achieved any type of success in any area of your life, you must have been able to put your ego aside and self-reflect. Be that jiu-jitsu, be that boxing, be that your job or your business. But you cannot blindly copy this hypercritical, self-critical pattern into a dating context, because women need you to be the leader. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's take the metaphor of dancing. In dancing, I have my frame, quite literally. I don't want to lean over and sacrifice my frame, my balance. And in a dance, for the dance to be an enjoyable experience for the both of us, for both of us to be able to move into whatever direction in a coordinated, harmonious, enjoyable manner, there has to be one person who leads, who sends an impulse. So for example, if I lift my hand this way, she knows there's going to be a turn coming that way. And I give the impulse. Now, a leader during bachata or salsa is only good if he pays attention to her signals. If you just do your thing and you don't pay attention to her whatsoever, you're not a leader. Leadership just happens in the moment, but there's a before and there is a after. You agree that, okay, now lead me. That doesn't mean you're telling her what to do, but it means you set an impulse. You say, let's. I say implicitly with my body, let's do a turn this way. And I need to be exactly as strong and rough in my leading as she prefers it to be, or as gentle. And bachata and salsa is actually a really beautiful metaphor for this, because you learn to not be too soft and have these wobbly arms, because if you dance with a guy and he has these arms, what's that like for you?
Not nice.
But you've had it also when you dance with somebody and it's like too rough, also not great, right? So there is a balancing act, and bachata and salsa is a beautiful metaphor exactly for that. So you agree that there's one person who is the leader, but that doesn't mean that I get to dictate what you can or cannot do. It just means I take the initiative. Don't worry, I got this taken care of. Now, you are adults, and what you want is a meaningful, deep connection with somebody. If you want a meaningful and deep connection with somebody, that requires happiness. For happiness to exist, you have to meet each other's needs. And you can't meet somebody's needs if you're trying to get her to do something she doesn't want to do, or if she gets you to do something you don't want to do. And that's something that I did in the relationship with my ex-wife all the time. I felt like I had to go and visit her parents, go for a walk for 3 hours through the city center in Dublin, where I would much rather be in a martial arts class. And again, I'm not blaming her. She's a good, kind person. There was simply a lack of compatibility between the two of us. But you don't want anybody to get you to do something you don't want to do. Likewise, you're not supposed to get her to do something she doesn't want to do. Maybe 5 or 2 or 3% of the time, that's a natural compromise. But 95% of the time, you're not supposed to do that. So in order for you to establish the right patterns at the beginning of the dating phase, for it to give the relationship the highest possible chance to succeed, you have to communicate way more radically, honestly. You have to be grounded in your sense of identity as a man. You have to understand your frame, your reality. In other words, you have to have conviction and belief in what you say. Now, it is a mark of a successful and intelligent man that he is willing to change his mind on anything if he's presented with enough evidence to the contrary. I'm willing to change my mind on almost anything if you give me enough evidence to the contrary. Now, I know that there's certain things I'm probably never going to change my mind on, purely because I've lived a significant amount of life and these principles have worked very well. But I have a base, core understanding that I'm willing to change my mind on most things. There's certain things that I just would rather not sacrifice on because they work very well and I need them to meet my needs. But it is important that you remain self-reflective, that you're always in touch with how she's feeling. But do not take every word so serious. Pay attention to her words. But don't let her words create a state of emotional uncertainty within you. And then in the end, let it be a meritocracy. Evaluate everything she says based on it. Because you can't just say,
what women say this, what men say this. The man is the leader, therefore he's always right.
Nonsense. In our relationship, there's no such thing as this person's always right or that person's always right. If there's an argument, well, then we evaluate it based upon that. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, I will apologize for what I did wrong. She'll apologize for what she did wrong. And you should seek to understand first, then to be understood. But in the initial dating phases, if you take every word she says so serious and you get flustered and you're not grounded, you don't own your frame, she will lose attraction.
And if you want us to help you personally to find the right one, apply for a free initial consultation call.